Like,
Yeah,
please end me now. But
I know
but I'm not going to
it's
pay attention to that. Welcome to the show, everyone. Um, Craig, there's a lot to talk about. Do you want to save it to the end to kind of do in the news current? What we used to call it
um
in school,
yeah,
current something, current
like I
event.
told you, I mean, the thing in the beginning, I just want to recognize is just like, everybody hates that, there's a lot of people that hate the term, but our thoughts, prayers, everything are with all the people that were affected by the storm. I mean, there's a
Amen.
lot of people, friends of the show, both Three Beards, the show that we've done there, plus Into the Outer Realms, with Dr. Reverend Michael Carter.
Yeah.
He was affected with this thing, up there in is Asheville, correct? North
Yeah,
Carolina. Yeah.
he's in Asheville.
Yeah, Asheville. Yeah. So it's
Absolutely
just,
right.
for me, just like I said, just put that out there. Just, I really, thoughts, prayers, go out to there. And if for anybody, do your due diligence. Don't just throw money at stuff, because there unfortunately are a lot of scams. There are a lot of people that are looking to just capitalize on this. So before you give money, make sure it is something that is a legit, thing that's actually helping people. But if you have the ability, help out. If you're in the area, volunteer. Go do something like that. Help. I mean, it's like had here in what they call the Big Bend area. There's people that were going out helping shovel sand to clear roads, because there's
Okay.
some areas where we went on. We took a weekend vacation. There was 3 or 4 feet of sand over the road from the
Wow.
ocean. So they were buckets. They were pushing all that stuff off of there. So that's my little detraction from the show here. Just like keep everybody. I said thoughts and prayers for the families that were affected. And just
Yeah.
rest in peace to those that have lost their lives. It's over 200 now, and there's still over
Is it over
1,000 people.
200?
Yeah, and
Gosh.
there's over 1,000 people, at least that I've heard, that they're still not accounted for. But those could be people that don't have phone, internet, or anything, and can't check in. And they're cut off.
Right.
So we hope that's the
W-
case and not something else.
Last time I had checked, it was 54, and I still am amazed that is this day and age that people lose their lives in these weather events,
Yeah.
which are getting worse. And of course, they're talking about how FEMA doesn't have enough money. For FEMA.
I mean, everybody's affected. I mean, there's a video. It's out there. It shows. My wife showed it to me. There's a flooded river. It's just flowing here, and here comes this coffin, just floating in the water along with it. So I mean, it washed out of cemetery, and there's
Wow.
coffin floating in the water. So I mean, this thing's this thing's not only affecting the living, it's affecting the dead. Everybody's affected by the storm. It's like, and then
Mhm.
we'll get it back to like our sinister mysteries thing. To tie this in too. Did you see what they said from FEMA?
Mm-mm.
They have almost a $30 billion a year budget. They're
Right.
out of money.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. FEMA's broke.
Yeah. It's like, for anybody from the show that we just did, Project 2025, that were all upset, where they said they wanted accountability for things. This is one of those things that wasn't sinister. This is actually something that everybody should, I don't care what side of the aisle on, you might want to think about calling your people in power and saying, hey, how about some accountability here? It's like, how have we spent this, this amount of money, and we're not, we've only had 3 storms that have actually touched the mainland. It's like, so where's all this stuff going to? And it's lining the pockets of people, and it's how it
Yeah.
always is. It's like, but I
There wasn't,
digress.
there wasn't even a
Thiel,
FEMA
that's
when
who
I
are
was
we here to talk about.
There wasn't a FEMA when I was a kid. Of course,
Hmm.
the war rages.
Well, we got to
Israel,
spend money
Iran's
somehow.
involved now, right? So
Yeah,
we're
we got to be able
watching
to spend
that.
money
We're
somehow.
watching the longshoremen strike.
Yeah.
Craig, you shared some videos with me that I've since told some people to check out. The rhetoric is kind of ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah,
we could do a sinister mystery on that.
there's a shortage of toilet paper, even though that's a domestic product that doesn't come over. So common sense, but I'm sure our audience has plenty of common sense. Yeah, and then whatever, the battle of the VPs the other night, so on and so forth. But we're going to talk about Peter Thiel tonight, who was just on Joe Rogan, I think last week. And these guys, I don't know. Anyway, we're here. We're doing our podcast. Here we are. People probably say, "Oh, that Joey Medea." So
yeah, this is my lighthearted take on it, and I think you kind of liked it too. I'm like, it's a yin and yang. The left has George Soros. The right has Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how, for people really want, like, as we go into this thing, it's not the inherent person that is so much as like what the discussion is about. It's more like the influence. And that's kind of what George Soros is to the Democrat side, Peter Thiel is to the Republican side, and that's kind of one of the things. So that's a little bit so.
Absolutely. And then I want to extend that out sort of in the summation about what this black hat battle kind of looks like and what they say about each other. And also, you know what, Craig, we're not going to do an opening. We do have a lot. You know what? There's so many. Let's do the opening to buy some time to look in the comments. We'll do that.
There you go. All right. We'll see you on the other side.
A lot of comments. All right, guys.
There exists a realm beyond our wildest dreams, a realm beyond reality that the gatekeepers and guardians have always told us consists of nothing but tricks of the eye, weather balloons, swamp gas, sand cranes, fairy tale myths of monsters, crackpot conspiracy theories, and desperate cries for attention.
We know this realm exists, and it's just beyond the horizon. The preset path, the well-worn walkways where the cynics want us to stay.
Instead, give this a listen. Put on your headphones, adjust your volume, close your eyes, and fasten your mental seatbelts, because the twilight-tinged turnoff from reality's alluring highway is looming just ahead.
We're about to leave the plane of the easily explained, couldn't possibly be's, and the no way I just saw what I saw's, for the spaces and places where everything is possible, and if you stay long enough, even probable. We're about to take a journey into the outer realms.
Into the outer realms of Peter Thiel and Palantir, Craig. And you brought up
I know, for anybody that saw the image too, that's blocked by us. There's a little reference to that.
There is, because it burns me up, man. It just burns me up, these guys. With their it's like I edit some nuclear physics journals, believe it or not. I'm working on one right now. Yeah, some major ones. And like my boss has said to me 25 years ago, I think when I took one of them on, nouns and verbs still have to agree. But I do learn little things. But it's interesting how they name their accelerators and they name their projects in Greek mythology and all this dark stuff. And there's an accelerator named Hades, and there's another one named Hecuba. And these guys love one of those, to play with this.
Yeah, it's kind of like the CERN thing, where we talked about that. It's like one of those, how much of that is actually a nefarious, dark ritual thing, or how much of it is just science nerds that find it funny, and this is their way of just kind of, just, it's an offhanded joke, and they run with it.
Yeah. So Charles is, I guess, refining the commentary. Mayorkas' statement is that this one will break them, not that they are broke now. So
So where's the rest of this money gone? I mean, that's the thing is, I would love everybody demand a dollar for dollar accounting of where these funds have gone. I mean, all you have to do is a couple of years ago, remember those fields, all those acres and acres of pallets of bottled water in Puerto Rico that just sat there and rotted? That's where this money gets wasted. And people are like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's like the Defense Department who hasn't passed an audit in so long, and going all the way back in history, and then we'll come right back and move forward. Rumsfeld, like September 9th, going, we can't account for $3 trillion something dollars, in the Defense Department, and then the accounting department in
Pentagon gets hit right where the records are.
Gets hit. With what we still
convenient, isn't it? Convenient that the records department gets hit.
Just kind of amazing. While we're doing that, why don't we also do this? And so yeah, $25 billion from Helene. I really do want to talk about, because it's not, I don't dislike any of these people, although Yuval Harari really is like Gollum to me. But
Yeah.
with these guys, but I still don't dislike him. He just kind of creeps me out a little. So there's a distinction there, minor as it is. But these guys are the front men for a very nefarious program. And so we could probably tell you everything interesting there is to tell you about Peter Thiel in about 10 or 12 minutes. But it will take over an hour because of who they have out there and what they've done, what they're connected to, which is what's interesting to me with the parallels and the patterns and all of that kind of stuff.
And that's why the pictures that I chose for the images, I didn't do like the normal media thing of finding the most evil looking photo or something, because it's one of those things. It's not so much for me, like through the research, it's not so much what the people themselves are. It's just, the sinister part is the interconnected web of who's involved, how this thing's happening. It's not that JD Vance is a sinister, evil guy that, people want to paint. No, he was picked. This wasn't this guy. He didn't just come out, they didn't sit down like, dude, we got nobody. Who do we go? Hey, this guy looks good. Let's go. No, there was steps how this happened. This just didn't occur. So.
And that's what we've been working on for, I don't know, probably at least 38 of our 47 episodes have been basically creating this quilt, because none of this happens in a vacuum. And some of what you've heard tonight, you've heard in other contexts from us, but now it's in a new context through a new, focal lens. The only thing I'm going to say about Helene is I'm hearing some interesting things about HARP and the lithium mines and BlackRock. September 10th, and I looked at the NASDAQ reports. On September 10th of this year, BlackRock doubled their stake in Albemarle Corporation, which is like the leading, almost exclusive lithium mining. And they're going to reopen Kings Mountain, which is the big lithium mining in Western North Carolina. I'm just putting that out there. It's not tonight's subject, but since people are talking about. So anyway, Peter Thiel. Who's Peter Thiel? Born in Frankfurt, Germany in 1967. Craig, it's always my impulse to go kiss Schmidt, Schwab.
Why is it always tied to Germany? Why
so many of these guys, right? Immigrated to the U.S. as a child, though. He's a tech entrepreneur. He's a venture capitalist. He's a political he's a bit of a kingmaker. If things go the Republicans' way, well, he is a kingmaker in the sense that senators are mini kings in their states, and he funded J.D. Vance's senatorial campaign. He and another guy who's also a key maker. Tanya and I have lived in Ohio for 6 years now. A very, very complicated political scene in Ohio. Anyway, he went to Stanford University, one of those Research One universities that's got their fingers in a lot of things. Gary Nolan is at Stanford University. He's doing the blood testing and that kind of stuff on UFO exposure amongst the military. He's done a lot of work on Havana syndrome, and he went to Stanford Law. So like the founding fathers, these guys have backgrounds in law, a lot of these guys, because it comes in handy. So how did Peter Thiel make his money? Some of you may know this, some of you may not. In 1998, he, along with Max Levchin and Elon Musk, founded PayPal.
And then it's weird. If you go to Wikipedia, real quick, if you go to Wikipedia and like you said, and you do these type of things, they don't mention that. They don't mention Musk.
Oh.
You have to look up the other when they, like I said, I'll read it verbatim. They said he founded Thiel Capital Management in '96 and co-founded PayPal with Max Levchin and Luke Nosek. That's it. That's who they say. They don't say anything about Musk. And I'm like, Musk was a big part of PayPal. Yeah. I said, and you actually get to the story, but I digress. But yeah, that's one of those really weird. Why this is one of those things. Reason people, Wikipedia is not a primary source.
No,
don't use Wikipedia as your primary source. Use it as a jump off point, but that's not your source.
And it's extremely biased.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, anything except oranges or orange is a fringe theory on
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
So
You know,
sorry
it's very
to
biased.
sorry to derail there, but yeah, continue. So yeah, they founded PayPal.
Yeah, and they sold it to eBay in 2002 for $1.5 billion. So they each had 5 million, 100 million to play with, and what we're going to talk about tonight is some of the uses for that. He used it to Palantir Technologies. Now the Palantir, it's right behind us here, but he's got the handout. Sauron, the Dark Wizard, the Seeing Eye, right? I
Mhm.
see you, and the
Yeah.
stupid fool of a took, and all of that. So here's this thing that he names his surveillance company, technology surveillance company, who for the first 3 years they only had one client, and it was the CIA, and he names it Palantir. So it's like right out there, the most evil
Yeah.
way to spy on people. That's what he names his company.
Yeah, the great evil of the U.S., the CIA, and he's got the one-on-one, communication device from Lord of the Rings with the CIA. Yeah, so when you asked for that, I was like, perfect. It was
Yeah,
perfect.
because it is. And this is a good time to bring up too, Craig, that this guy professes to be a libertarian, but
Yep.
he runs a giant surveillance company. You know?
Mhm. That was last week. Derek, Jessica. Yeah, I mean, Derek I just said, where's the gal that was supposed to be on? That was Jessica. She was on last week's show with Joey. So you
Yeah,
can check that out. Jessica
you
Nichols. That was a
have
great
to.
show, by the way. So like I said, so
Yeah,
everybody go back and you can watch that. Like I said,
she's really good. She's really good at what she does. Well, I hope you'll stay anyway, because it's an interesting topic tonight. So data analytics company, right? Data analytics makes the world go round now. It is the coin of the realm. And we'll talk about that tonight, focusing on government and intelligence applications. And he also has the Thiel Institute. He also has the Thiel Foundation. Basically what the Thiel Institute, working with Palantir, is they take data, they fuse it together, and they turn it into actionable intelligence. That's like national security, Craig. That's one of those terms.
mhm.
Actionable intelligence. This is very widespread, folks. Not with Thiel directly, but I'll get to it. I was editing a paper about a month and a half ago, and I knew we were going to talk about this tonight, so I'll save that. Like I said, the CIA was his only client for the first 3 years, so that was up to no good. They weren't seeing if dogs were pissing on the lawn of CIA headquarters. I don't think they were using it for that. So here's now where it gets interesting. And Whitney Webb, who I haven't talked about in a while, but has done a lot of work on this. Now, Palantir replaced something called Total Information Awareness, or TIA, which was developed by John Poindexter, who was national security advisor, was involved with DARPA, was working in intelligence, was very, very close with Donald Rumsfeld. We're painting a picture here. This is in the early 2000s. It's just post 9/11. It's the growth of the Patriot Act. Congress refuses to support domestic surveillance programs. That is really bad for re-election. So congressmen do not like to look at this kind of stuff. But this was the time, Craig, where the government was going, you know what? If we outsource things, private companies don't have to tell anybody crap. And it's gotten to
No.
the point now,
Yeah.
and we've talked about a lot, where the Senate Intelligence Committees, the private companies, say, we don't have to tell you crap. A 4-star general goes to a private defense contractor and says, I need everything you got on project blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you're not authorized. We don't have to tell you crap. So
Yep.
it's compartmentalization. We're not just talking about UFOs here. We're talking about high-level defense stuff. Anyway, Congress refuses to support domestic surveillance programs. There's another program called LifeLock. So one is total information awareness. That goes over to Peter Thiel, who just made $500 million selling PayPal to eBay. So he's got a bunch of cash burning a hole in his pocket. The other one is LifeLock. LifeLock, the day that LifeLock is killed, Facebook is born.
Yep.
This is in 2004. Peter Thiel was the first private investor in Facebook. $5 $700,000 is about 10% buy-in of Facebook. So this is a dream, Craig, because following this money and following this line is a dream. So you go out there and it's there. Of course, Facebook, what do they start doing almost immediately? They start doing psychological experiments on users. So the one that came out in 2014 was a Facebook employee and two Cornell University professors take 700,000 users. And to Craig, all they give him is happy stuff in his feed. Cute little kittens and, people canoeing. Me, they give me, poverty and homelessness and drug addiction. And that's all they feed us. And they sit back and watch, and these 700,000 people start to mimic what's coming into their feed. And I think, Craig, that was a huge data point for them that all of the platforms and all of the algorithms use. When they bombard you with a steady diet of X, you start to crave that X, because whatever chemical reactions, right? The oxytocin or the bad stuff, cortisol, then you're hooked.
Well, and just as you said, just because of the shows we've been doing, this almost makes sense why some people, like, the algorithm seems to be so different for different people. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still, in the way, is still happening, because you could simply go, how does somebody get affected when they can't get this, or they can't, suddenly we take something that they like away, how do they react? This could be this can and most likely is a giant social experiment that's happening live 24/7. And they can keep feeding whatever, data points they want into this, and see the results in real time, and see how people react, what they do, because right now everybody has the attention span of a goldfish.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're just don't read.
I mean, look what you do, like when you're on the phone.
Yeah.
You scroll. You might stop for a second, scroll. And it's nobody sits there and takes the time. And it's like, so they could be tweaking stuff, and, and it wouldn't matter what side it is. It's like, you could have something like Peter Thiel saying, if we influx this, boom, how does this thing? I mean, this could be, instead of the pollsters calling you at dinner time, they could be doing it in real time. Let's plug this in there and see what people react to this stuff, and see if they like it, if they don't like it, and then we can go for that. So yeah, that's kind of a cool and scary at the same time, is that you're basically influenced your personality.
Yeah, absolutely. As a creator, as a writer, as an actor, I have to put myself in the shoes of people all the time. And if I was part of this elite cabal, this, CIA funded Silicon Valley, these guys, Craig, I absolutely think part of the reason that I got banned from Amazon and they took down over 400 of my reviews, and I think this is the first time I'm talking about this publicly. I did a review for a guy's book, and it said something about the Silicon Valley man boys. I don't think the algorithms care for that, because that's when they finally said, you have repeatedly violated community standards and you are banned. Not only have we taken down over 400 of your reviews, you are no longer permitted to write reviews for the community.
Yeah, because it seems like such an extreme. It seems like if you don't like a review, you just strike, it disappears. You're like, I don't know what happened to my review of that book.
Yeah.
Not just because you go through it. It's like, it's not like every review was some derogatory thing attacking Dr. Evil Bezos.
Yeah. And I'll just tell you two other quick things about that. I have submitted 3 requests through channels for clarification on what I did wrong. And also, they say you repeatedly posted material that violated our standards. They will not let you post until they vet your post as a reviewer. And sometimes they say, oh, no, because Craig, if I'm doing a book about a dystopian society with rampant drug use and sexual assault and all, I need to talk about that as part of the book. They will sell the book, but I'm not, as a reviewer, I'm not allowed to talk about the content of the book because it violates community standards. So the whole thing's messed up.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah, the TikTok algorithm, you can, it's called I don't like to use the F word on the show, but effing someone's algorithm. So you just take their phone and you just put some garbage in it that they don't normally watch, and that's all their feed is. The TikTok algorithm is hyper sensitive.
Yeah,
To
you
patterns.
have to like.
Yeah.
I apologize if I derailed the whole thing, but yeah, TikTok's that way. It's like I told you this story off air, and when you first create an account, I mean, it is TikTok. It is women, showing off everything. I mean, it's like, they know, like I said, if a guy, what they would know, the sex sells, and it takes weeks to get that to go away.
Yep.
And literally, if you even stop and watch like a couple seconds of some clip of the thing, it pops right back in your feed.
Yep.
It's literally, it's real time adjustment to your algorithm. And so you have to consciously keep scrolling, just don't even, and just keep plugging in requests and stuff of the stuff that you want to see, and you'll get it. But that stuff, like I said, it just keeps sneaking in. You have to make sure at no point that you hover. If you hover over it, it's welcome back.
I spend very little time on TikTok. There's something about the vibe on TikTok that is particularly icky to me. I don't spend a lot of time on Instagram either. I don't like the whole
cool dog
reel
videos.
I don't like the whole reel culture that much.
Mine's all cooking and dog videos. So it's really,
well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's
I watch a lot of guitar how to actors, musician, writer interviews. That's most of it. And then some political stuff that's just clips of news things. I can't stand these when the people are reacting and talking about the news and just some average.
I agree,
well,
Jessica.
I guess we are, but I should watch what I say. But anyway, so anyhow. So Facebook, so Thiel is now linked. He's a 10% owner in Facebook. They're doing these social experiments. He's getting money from the CIA solely for 3 years for his I see you, Eye of Fire ball project. And then he starts in 2005. So he's got all this money. Is spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and God knows what the CIA is giving him. That, Craig, is probably why the Defense Department doesn't square, the books don't square when they audit, because it probably doesn't say X amount of money to Peter Thiel's Palantir. So he starts
you can't show that stuff. Yeah.
Right. So now he starts a venture capital firm. So the CIA has one. It's called Q Intel. We've talked a lot about it on the show. He's an early investor in companies like SpaceX. More of this movement from the public to the private, right? Oh, NASA. It was just NASA. Oh, no. Now we have SpaceX. Now we have Bigelow Aerospace. We got Jeff Bezos's thing, right? Then it's interesting, Craig. I'm telling you, this was low-hanging fruit this episode. So I find this guy named Peter Luckey, Luckey. Now, he is the inventor of the Oculus Rift, right? VR technology, whatever. Very cool. He sells that, and he has all this money that he doesn't know what to do with. So he starts an AI weapons company that he calls Anduril. Anduril is the reassembled Norsol from freaking Lord of the Rings.
Well, he states, like you said, that he's a huge fan of. He claimed, his claim is that he's read the works over 10 times. So, which, for anybody that hasn't read J.R.R. Tolkien's book, that is a book. That is a doorstop. I mean, this isn't just something easy reading. You probably.
But this is Aragorn's sword, and this is the sword. Norsol was the sword that they cut off Sauron's finger with the ring that binds them all. So when that's
his venture capital thing called Mithril.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, you can
both
see
sides of the myth.
Yeah, you can see that he's a huge fan just in those just by the fact that he's naming it. But it's also kind of funny that he was also granted that New Zealand citizenship. Yeah, which is where Lord of the Rings was filmed.
Yep.
I mean, so you can see where he definitely has a passion that isn't, on the political side.
Right. So what I found was that Peter Thiel was a major investor in Anduril, in the AI weapons So this, and we've kind of hinted at this, the partnership between government, civil society, and the private sector. This has gotten really complicated, and we do talk about it, and we'll continue to talk about it because it's important. Defense contractors, SpaceX, Bigelow, taxpayer dollars with no accountability. Craig, that loops absolutely back that you were just talking about with FEMA. Although FEMA is a government organization, so they're damn well ought to be.
Yeah, it's
full
just
accountability.
it's just that's that problem when you get into, and Peter Thiel, Soros, and these guys are masters of going in through the regulatory, through the back doors. That there's so many back doors that are through these things, and that's what happens. It's like FEMA thing. It's just like, you have all these little side things that just siphon stuff off, and that's where these guys can work in. They can do these things, and it's like scratching the back of somebody so you can grease the palms of this one, and it averts the congressional oversight, which is that's the problem. That's one of the big things, and that's like you said, it's as much as it's dirty. It's like you also have to sit there and just respect the fact of how well those two have learned to play this game. Yeah.
Because there's really no differentiation, right? So it's definitely a corporate oligarchy. All of the politicians are bought and sold. So it's the same guys running it. So why wouldn't they want to keep things in their backyard as much as possible?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, King says back in the late 80s, early 90s, things like this was talked about. It's been happening for a long time. Absolutely. It has been. But now
Ron Paul is one of the biggest examples, that can be from the right, from that side, where he would intentionally throw pork in a thing that he was going to vote no on so that he could say, I voted against this. This is wasteful spending. And guess what? His district gets his funding because he made sure it was going to be on a bill that was going to pass, even with his no vote. So what I was saying, even though he's a darling of the libertarians and stuff like that, he played the game too. They all know how to play this game. That I said, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Rand Paul, Ron Paul. I don't care who it is. They know how to do this game.
Yeah, that whole libertarian thing is shaky. But anyway, LinkedIn, which is owned by Microsoft since 2016, I've really kind of gotten down on LinkedIn. I was sort of all in on LinkedIn, and they started here. Just folks, just so you know the kind of things that are going on. They came to me and they said, okay, you have a lot of followers and you post a lot of good material and you're a content creator and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to create these topics and you could write mini essays on the topics and we'll give you these expert badges and do all this stuff. And then the news broke last week that everybody who's on LinkedIn is automatically opted into their massive machine learning algorithms to train their AI. So they basically went to content creators dangling this visibility and badge to create content that they could train their AI with. So I stopped doing that. Anyway, Thiel is invested in LinkedIn. He's invested in Yelp. He's invested in Stripe. And now he's getting into biotech. So you have these guys with lots of money and very strong opinions. Who's a guy on the other side of the aisle, Craig, a WEF guy who's heavy into biotech that came from regular tech?
That's, oh God, name. Help. Yeah, help.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, yes. Yeah,
Bill Gates.
As you're naming those things, if you notice, like one of the things that the stuff that he's in, it's connections, it's information. Yelp, LinkedIn, like I said, you're basically, it's almost real time. You're watching him invest in databases, in this stuff that just builds. So no wonder, like, Palantir, the same thing. It's just you're basically, you've got your fingers in all this stuff. I mean, it'd be surprising that he's not, that he's not heavily into, like you said, he's getting the biotechs, but that he's not the owner of like 23andMe or just what, like one of the, it's surprising that that's not on his resume yet, but it could be through one of his venture funds that he actually could be a connection.
And these guys are also drawing these spurious lines of like they don't like Larry Fink and they don't like this guy and this guy doesn't get along with this guy. But at the end of the day, even though there are two specific paths, so you mentioned, sort of George Soros on one side, Peter Thiel on the other. It's really the WEF, Blackstone, Larry Fink, Bill Gates, Soros, those guys on one side. We talked about that. What is that? That manifests as Agenda 2030. And then on the other side, you have the Thiel, you have the Musk, you have their king making. They're putting a lot of money into things. They're balancing. They're kind of balancing each other out. But these two very distinct pathways are both leading to the same digital ID. None of them is saying no, going digital is a bad idea. None of them are really saying that AI is bad, right? Elon Musk was saying that, screaming.
He said it, and then he switched, and it's one of those, And I think it's a lot of them. I think it's one of those. He realized that if he took a hard line on that, he was going to get left behind.
Yeah,
because it's got the cat's out of the bag now. I mean, it's in everything. I mean, did you see Zuckerberg, his rollout for the new AI thing with Facebook? He did a live thing where it was like like the assistant. He was talking. It's like, hey, should we do a live thing? It's like, well, lives don't always work out like they should. And it's like, well, we're going to do it anyway. And that's kind of the thing is like, even Zuckerberg, you can see he morphed too. He went from looking like an android robotic thing to where now he's got like that, curly hair, all this, he's changed. So you can see that there's been a sizable shift, especially in the tech side. People have there's really been a shakeup, and it's like, I don't know if it's because they realize that putting all your eggs in one basket is a bad thing, and it's what it seems like. It's almost like some of these companies are realizing we don't want to align with a party. We need to step back. And it's, I've been noticing that, in a few things, which it's not a bad thing. Have it, but it's at the same time, it's just, you can see, it's like the influence that that these guys, especially back like with Thiel, AI is they're all in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's that is the future. It's one of those things we need to get, we need to get on board, or you're going to get left behind.
That's right. But I will tell you that a friend of mine, friend of the show, she was having some trouble. Her film career is starting to take off, and Google was putting bad data out there about her, and IMDb had some wrong things. And I said, well, let's go to ChatGPT and generate a bio for you and see exactly what the internet is saying about you. And then you can parse it out, right? So I was in there now. Someone had told me to do that back in June. I was traveling. I was in Tulsa, and I did it for me. And it was very accurate, because people shouldn't get too excited, because we're feeding the machine and it's just parroting back. As a creator, as a public figure, I'm putting my bio out there. I'm putting my credits out there. I'm crafting a narrative. I am my own brand, right? So you can't get too excited. But I generate her thing, and it mentions a film that she's been in, and I know her pretty well. And I said, well, geez, I never heard of this film. But anyway, I send it to her, and she says, so much of this is wrong, and I was never in a film called that. So I went to ChatGPT, Craig, and I said, create a long bio for actor and writer Joey Medea. They made up a name for my podcast. They made up a name for my post-popular play, and they made up a name for my book series.
Oh, wow.
They were just completely fictitious names. They said that I have written a highly successful play called Devils in a Chair. There is no play in the world called Devils in a Chair. So somehow ChatGPT now is just putting in. Well, right. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Right?
Palantir. It's like, maybe this is from the future. Like I said, you guys heard it first. Joey's new production, Devils in the Chair.
Yeah, weird. So weird. And I said to her half jokingly, I said, well, what if the quantum computers that are doing the massive machine learning are actually going into, which is what Geordie Rose had said about the quantum computers. He said that we will go into parallel dimensions and we will extract needed resources. Geordie Rose said that in 2012.
Yeah.
A designer of quantum computers. So maybe that's what's going on. It's very odd that they would just insert these. I've never written anything close to the title of Devils in a Chair.
Well, he does a lot of stuff, like you said, with Peter Thiel. He does a lot of stuff with, like, defense. Like, did you find anything where he's connected with DARPA at all?
No, but of course he created Palantir to circumvent the government having to implement DARPA originated. So I guess yes.
Because I wondered,
did.
like, if there was, like, backdoor, like if he's working with, in this same thing through through these government contracts, if he's involved in this quantum computing, because this is a big this. We can't get into it in this show. We don't have time. It's quantum computing is like quantum mechanics. I mean, but it's just like I said. The thing is it's basic Minority Report. I mean, you name it. It's like this thing. This is what quantum computing is going to be like. And so you could see how somebody like this, especially when influence, like as he's been referred to as the rights kingmaker. Mm-hmm. You could see how these things would be of importance if you could just get that edge, like, I know, and this is, because this could be stuff like, this is how they pick somebody like JD Vance to become the vice president, and it could come down to, it wasn't so much that JD Vance was the right look, he had the right things like this. It could come back to like Moneyball. If anybody knows what Moneyball is, that's that the Oakland A's, when they came in and they started going, it wasn't about the name, it wasn't about like stuff, it was about the numbers. It came down to who could do this thing. This guy could get on base, and it could have been one of these things where through all this data that they're pulling in, he met these keys and they're like, that's the guy. That's the guy. He's he's my money ball, and this is the guy we're going with. And people are like, why would you pick? It's like, and you're kind of seeing it, like the vice president debate. You saw he was calm. Like I said, he didn't get all excited. He didn't do the Trump thing. He didn't like, just start getting all distracted. He was measured, and that could be the Moneyball thing, like Peter Thiel saw. It's like, this is going to be the guy that's going to be that, that thing. And this is, it may look crazy, it may sound like this, but trust the process. He's going to be one of those trust the process kind of guys.
Yeah, and when I was in college, I was one class shy of a minor in political science, which I really wanted. It would have been cool to have a dual degree in English and theater and a minor in political science. I mean, that's basically my life. That's who I am. But then I would have been shy some electives, right? Because you can't double count classes. Whatever.
It's not too late to take that class, sir.
Yeah, so Charles says, no, I think I've kind of more than gotten my master's in poli-sci now. Devil's in the chair, Joey and Craig for the Halloween costume show. I think the devil is in the chair, according certainly to Amazon. And our episode on the Las Vegas shooting got so harshed by Facebook. The numbers are ridiculously off from all of our other shows.
Yeah, I mean, that's great.
Just other.
That's a perfect time for everybody. Like, share, subscribe. Send it to people, because, like I said, it's one of those things. Like, some of these shows are really cool. It's like, you haven't seen it. Yeah. I'm like, it's just help us battle this evil algorithm. Yeah. No, it's just like share it. I mean, it's invite a friend, do this stuff, because you're going to want to see the show in here, especially here coming up here in a few shows. That's a little foreshadowing tease.
Yeah, foreshadowing, and look who's on the screen, Shadow. It's good to see you, buddy. It's been a while. So I'm calling people buddy this week, please. I've been working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for like 3 weeks, so please ignore the buddy thing. I find buddy condescending, so I'm sorry. My friend, is good to see you, my friend. You have to be very careful with your wording. There are whole websites out there that will help you devise plots for this AI. So let's see. So in 27 January 2022, the Office of the Department of National, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, otherwise known as ODNI, published a report regarding the intelligence community's handling of commercially available information. This goes beyond Thiel, but like I said, I was editing a paper, an academic paper, and I wanted to share this with you guys. What the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, which is basically the umbrella office for all the different departments of the intelligence community, they say that they can't regulate it until they better understand how it's being used.
Yeah.
So there are these companies, folks. If you got a pen, if you got a pencil, write this down and check them out. There are these companies that let's see, let me go through this and get it to you exactly right here. So they create these tools that aid the intelligence services. They pay for this data, just like they pay Peter Thiel for Palantir, in consulting various open sources. So open source intelligence has become a really big thing. So I edit several intelligence journals and have for decades. And open source intelligence is the stuff that they're getting, that we're putting out there, that websites are putting out there, all that kind of stuff. Social media is part of it, Facebook, X. Examples of these, what's called OSINT. So human is human intelligence. OSINT, open source intelligence. There's GeoSINT, which is, geospatial intelligence. There's a list as long as my arm. Spiderfoot, Recon NG, Maltego, and Shodan. Then there are major data brokers, right? So these are kind of the smaller guys I just told you. Accenture, so Accent, URE, LexisNexis, which is a giant database, and of course, Oracle, right? Larry Ellison. I think I might have mentioned this 2 weeks ago. Really weird thing. Larry Ellison's son, David, founded Skydance Entertainment. These are the guys who did Top Gun Maverick. These are the guys that have done like the last 6 or 7 Mission Impossible movies. David is reportedly a Scientologist along with Tom Cruise. Anyway, Skydance is in the process of buying Paramount, which is a very, very big deal to buy
that's
Paramount.
large.
And they're going to put Larry Ellison, the Oracle guy, in charge of Paramount. His son is the entertainment industry guy. So why? Because that's the entertainment industry doing the bidding of all of these guys. So it's very
because dad's
interesting.
bankrolling him, and this is a kid. This is the payback
that
for
kid
dad.
now, his dad originally bankrolled him, but between these Tom Cruise juggernauts, plus they're big in video games, they're big in VR, they're a juggernaut. So Oracle, you can also look under Data Logics, GIX. They're basically data brokers. So they're collecting our information from everything we do on social media, everything we do on our phones, especially. And they're selling this stuff to marketing firms, hedge funds, real estate companies. They're selling it to other data brokers. So data brokers are selling our data in this sort of circle. Now, the service providers, our phone service providers, are also making money off us, like our exorbitant rates that we pay every month for data access and all aren't. So they're also going out and selling, just like Google and Alphabet does, just like Facebook. We all know this big data. They're also selling it to law enforcement, and they're also selling it to the intelligence community. So to me, Craig, the whole Edward Snowden NSA thing is freaking peanuts. I just named almost a dozen companies, certainly a half a dozen. And then you have Ventel, Venntel, an Anomaly 6. Anomaly 6 was founded in 2018 by 2 military intelligence veterans who are extracting info from the data companies to sell to the government. It's crazy.
I think like Snowden and Assange, their main thing is it wasn't so much that, because the stuff that they brought for had always been in the rumor thing. It had been the conspiracy theorist. It had been this thing. It's like, there's fine. They threw out the stuff that, where it actually was fact. It went from being theory to we can no longer deny this thing. You see these things, and that it was one of those. The Obama administration was the period where the wizard was revealed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is
on
a thing.
Angela Merkel in Germany.
Yeah, all the stuff.
It
just when all of a sudden we saw, and I think that was one of the biggest mistakes that that they did, is that the fact is they went too fast, too far. And it got revealed, and all of a sudden people are like, oh crap, now what do we? Now it's just, and that's one of those things where that's how we find out these connections, like Peter Thiel, that he's got these things, and that's through these things. It wasn't so much like you said. In hindsight, Snowden now it's just like, oh yeah, it's not that big. It's like, the spy. Yeah, who is it now? Well, before nobody had any idea that Amazon was listening. Was actively listening in your house. Was actually doing these things. I mean, because everybody has it right now. I mean, pick something. I mean, we could talk about it. It's like, purple pillows. We're going to keep saying purple pillows, purple pillows, purple pillows, and guess what? I bet you some of you guys are going to start seeing these purple pillow ads start showing up in your thing. You're going to see something from Amazon where all of a sudden it'll pop up and you'll be like, damn it, Craig, now I'm getting all these ads for purple pillows. And it's because these devices heard it.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Linda. It's nice to see you. It's been a while. So they have a family member, 3-letter agency. They laugh. They say they don't have the funding to use all this data. Do you think this is accurate? Well, I'll give you a little insider information. I know a guy who runs a cyber tech program at a university, never mind which university. All the kids are put to work on these kinds of things. So extrapolate all that out. I will also say, too, that never mind who, but I know someone who was an NCO in the Air Force, but did a lot of work for the NSA, and he always goes, they were too stupid to do half the things that you guys talk about on your show. Like these are a bunch of idiots. So no, I do think it's possible, and I do think the algorithms now, free of charge when you watch our show, it's closed captioned.
Yeah.
And StreamYard will download a transcript of our show for us, just the text. Craig, the more controversial we do a show, the longer it takes it to process on YouTube so I can share it to other places with the full metadata. No matter, because all our shows are about the same length. Within 10, 15 minutes, all our shows.
They've got to be run through the extra filters.
Yeah, they're run through. So I think that there is, especially nowadays, Linda, but that's what they're supposed to say, Yeah,
Linda, the dark secret is those 3-letter agencies don't really have a budget. They're kind of they are funded through many other ways that are not just taxpayer things. So it's one of those, they say this thing, but none of these ones really have a definitive, like, we don't have any money anymore,
right?
And so so that's the so whatever one they're in, there's a good chance they've got something in the black side that's the black ops type things, black side that's bringing in some funds from an undisclosed source.
So you don't think that the NSA has to have bake sales when they need?
No. I mean, if you believe that, then you're going to believe their story that the reason that they put that giant thing out in Utah was because it had abundant water.
Yeah.
To cool the servers, and that's why they put it out there, was because of the abundance of water. So yeah.
So let's get into the politics. Well, before we get into the politics, there's a little bit of a dark, vindictive side to Peter Thiel. So I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2016, Hulk Hogan got into a huge lawsuit with Gawker about certain information. Well, Peter Thiel funded Hulk Hogan's suing of Gawker. Why did he do that? Because Gawker had outed Thiel as gay in 2007. So he's very human and can use his money for vindictive purposes. The Hulk Hogan lawsuit was so successful and so high that Gawker went bankrupt.
Went under. Yeah.
Yeah. So he destroyed him. So
he won.
Yeah.
It's like he got his revenge, and it's just, I think it's one of the first, really, I guess they'd be one of the first ones where you could say somebody was actually successful in, in a revenge, thing after one of these hit pieces.
Yeah. Because like they say in Star Wars Episode 1, there's always a bigger fish,
Mhm.
and he's a pretty damn big fish.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so
I mean,
yeah, so whatever reporter thought he was getting a scoop, uh, that's right. Well, so yeah, so let's talk about Peter Thiel's politics. So he goes conservative libertarian. I don't think that bears out when you have a major AI based surveillance company that works for the CIA. I just don't find that libertarian, but he supported Trump in 2016. He spoke at the RNC. Before the show, I had a couple minutes of time. So I was watching him. He was on Joe Rogan last week. He's just a dude who's a dude.
yeah.
He's just,
I mean,
regular haircut, regular clothes, regular voice.
yeah, it is. He's like you said, when you listen to him, it's like you're you're not going to agree with everything. It's just like with anybody. It's like you're not always going to agree with everything, but when you actually listen to him, you realize there's he's a brilliant man.
Oh yeah, no
Yeah,
question.
like I said, this isn't some just guy that's just out for the stuff. It's like it's kind of everything's like tongue in cheek, and it's actually like me. Even the picture, there's a reason why Palantir, there's a reason why we use the image of his hand over it. It's not, and that's why I said the image is like go back to that. That's why they're not like an evil, sinister thing. It's just you can see, and it's just through all the connections. It's like that I don't know. I mean, it's like, who do you say that he's in direct contact, communication with? I don't know, but it's one of those. He's got his fingers on the pulse of of that side. I mean, he's definitely the role of the kingmaker
Oh, he
for the
definitely
right.
is. And he also has these people out there that I want to get to. But like I said, he supported Trump. He's very critical publicly of the Silicon Valley groupthink, left-leaning political bias.
Yeah,
So he has very strong opinions, and he just like Musk, who can put out Dogecoin's going to go through the roof, and he can actually make that happen. I mean, that's
yep,
how powerful these guys are. You talk about these social media influencers, right? Oh, use this shade of lipstick, blah, 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 blah. And they get to go to cool parties and get plaques from YouTube and crap. No, these guys are seriously influencers. And Musk is just odd enough that he'll go, I wonder who I can F with today.
yeah.
What can I set in motion today? What inflammatory thing can I say like AI is totally evil? And then I turn around 6 months later and go all in
All
on
in.
AI. It's very interesting. So another controversial thing that Peter Thiel has done that I don't disagree with. First of all, it's his money. And second of all, our higher education system is an effing joke. When you think of a business investment of what you spend on an education and these
No,
kids that are in debt forever, he created the Thiel Fellowship, offering $100,000 to young people to drop out of college and start companies. Well, hey,
mhm.
that's what venture capitalists do. They then control these companies. They decide what is going to go to market. They create trends, and then these kids are
Yeah,
beholden to them. It's brilliant.
yeah.
You can't even
Oh,
criticize it.
it's brilliant, and it's like it's one of those things. It's like you can see the dark side, and you can also see the light side because it's telling you. It's like, look, do you want to go $200,000 in debt going into this thing, or would you rather take your idea to the market?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Shark Tank, right?
go
Mark
yeah,
Cuban.
yeah. It's literally it's like real world instead of with all the the Hollywood side of it. He's
Yep.
literally just went to these brilliant kids and said, look, hey, you've got a great idea for a medical device. I'm going to give you 100,000. Boom,
Yeah.
start it out. Go do these things. You're going to do this thing. Quit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of like skimming. That's basically one of those things you see. Just like it's great at the same time. It's also a brilliant business move because, like I said, you control all the stuff, and you can just see easily better. It's like you said, Shark Tank. It was perfect example of Shark Tank. It's like I want 20%. Of all this stuff. Like I said, and I'm going to help. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
You're also controlling market trends,
Yeah.
and trends have a political aspect, and they have a social data aspect. I mean, it's brilliant. I'm thinking, what the original Shark Tank was? JP Morgan going, okay, Edison, here's a bunch of money. Okay, Tesla, here's a bunch of money. And then Tesla going, wait a minute, you want to charge people for this? And JP Morgan was like, if I can't put a meter on it, it's useless to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And Tesla was talking to pigeons.
Yeah, at the end, at the end, you fell in love with a pigeon.
Yeah, and everything is named after Edison. We already talked about him funding J.D. Vance's campaign. What I really want to talk about, this is, and people know that because it's come out and it's been very public. And okay, Vivek Ramaswamy, who came out of nowhere and he was the ultimate outsider and he talked about crazy things about African Americans and guns and the Civil War and like what the hell, but every once in a while he said something that really made sense, and he's super intelligent and very well spoken and just fires out the stuff. Thiel invested in Ramaswamy's biotech ventures. Of course, most people know Ramaswamy and J.D. Vance are very close. They went to Yale Law together. So both of these boys, why they're on the banner, and you can see the lower half of their faces here on screen, is that they are Thiel boys. They are Thiel products. So get this, Craig. I just found this the other day. This was the golden nugget. So Thiel invests in Ramaswamy's biotech. So we got biotech again. Share similar views on regulatory overreach and free market principles, right? So they lean libertarian, somewhere in that libertarian conservative space, political space. In June, Ramaswamy acquires a stake in BuzzFeed. So now that's social trending. That's influencing. That's July 23rd of this year. Check this out. J.D. Vance, who's 39 years old, he was part of a $30 million investment round in Ramaswamy's startup umbrella company, which is called Strive Enterprises. And this is all about financial investing advisory. RIAs, they're called. And this is Thiel got a lot of the MAGA Silicon Valley heavyweights also to be investors. Check this out. J.D. Vance, hillbilly elegy, picks him up by the bootstraps, rags to riches. Ohio senator has a $120 million investment fund called Naria Capital that has more than doubled its total investment in Strive. Thiel is also involved with Naria. So it is a serious triangle where these guys are passing money back and forth to influence advisory, tech, biotech, all this stuff. Now, Craig, this comes under a larger heading. You've had Frank Jacob on your show. I deeply respect Frank Jacob. And he's kind of gotten away from the UFO stuff and is really into talking about these things, like people like Whitney Webb and ourselves. There's something called effective altruism. Wow. Altruism. Selfless making of things better. Effective altruism. So you can't just be throwing your money willy-nilly. You got to be smart about it. You have to be effective. Thiel espouses this. So does the WEF. OpenAI talks about this kind of thing. So this is where, Craig, the two distinct, at least optically, forward-facing, the two distinct paths start to pull together magnetically. There's an attraction there. And it's in this place of effective altruism, responsible philanthropy. What they're really doing is they're putting their money to seriously affect policy and things like that. They publicly battle each other. But my theory is their agenda is the same at the end of the day. It's about digital ID. It's digital currency. Don't forget, folks, Elon Musk bought Twitter because he wanted to make it like China's, what is that thing called? whatever.
Yeah, I know which one. Yeah, their version of Facebook, that thing.
Yeah, which is social media, social accounting, social coins, social,
Well, in Musk saw, just like what we're talking about here, he saw the same thing too. It's just the data, the metadata alone from Twitter is where the money's at.
Yeah.
The information that's out there. And it's just, it's, I like Charles's comment there. It's like, I would say no, because
I would agree, Craig.
Because on the no or with a statement?
I agree with you.
Yeah. Because for me, a fascist is somebody who who shuts down, basically it's my way and only my way, and then it allows these things. It's like that word is overly used. I think it's the same way with like racist. It's something that's used way too often and it's lost its meaning, because when you just ascribe it to everything, it doesn't have the meaning that it's supposed to. A fascist is one, I mean, we could get in the whole political side. A fascist is somebody who controls what can be said, what can be done. You could make the case that mainstream media is more fascistic than, anybody like Peter Thiel, because they're determining what can be said, when it can be said, what can happen, and that's saying with social media. It's like you got pulled off Amazon because you spoke out, you didn't say something that they liked, so they got rid. That's more fascistic than anything else, because it's one of those, these guys like Peter Thiel and stuff, he's not shutting down. The only time like you could actually say like he shut something down would be that Gawker thing, but that was a hit piece, and so you could see why that is. But he didn't go after Gawker just because it was Gawker. He just I don't like these guys. I mean, look at Ramaswamy, BuzzFeed. These things. I mean, if they were fascistic, they'd be shutting down these things like BuzzFeed, because these are things that they speak out against them. And they're not, and that's where I would, like I said, with a no, that's where I would go with it. It's like Peter Thiel doesn't come off as anything like fascistic and controlling. It's just, you can see that. I think that what you said, that that altruism. What was that? The first word was effective altruism, because that's exactly what it is. It's like you're giving these things out, but at the same time, I mean, it'd be like providing a home for the homeless, but they actually come to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're doing that. You're helping out, but you're also getting something out of it, because it's one of those. It's return on your investment. It's one of those things. You're helping, but you're also getting somebody that's going to be able. That's going to be able to help you with some aspect, and that's kind of like he does with those venture things, and all these guys. You can see that, and kind of back like last thing here before like I said, I'm hijacking it. I think Ramaswamy. I think he was the lightning rod. I think, especially during the debates, it was his job to go out there and say like the Overton window things, say those outlandish things, boom, direct everything to him. He took it because he could take it. He was willing to say it and stuff. And meanwhile, it got it out there in the narrative. People were talking about it. Yeah. And even though he was probably never really the intended one, he was just able to further the cause because he took it out and he got it out into the public sphere.
Yeah. And he was picked. He was picked because he was good at it. And Vance, all of these people are picked. So this is interesting. So I've been hinting at this as we're coming to the end of the show. So people like Thiel he's out there talking. He's not shy about talking, but he has other people who are really working the high-end podcast, alternative media, all that kind of thing. And there are these brothers, Eric and Brett Weinstein. And if you get into this stuff a lot, you will come across them. And man, physicists and financiers and super hyper intellectuals talk about all this complex stuff, get emotional at all the right times. They both had Eric had a major encounter with Jeffrey Epstein. So when the release last year or earlier this year of all this, he's on all the shows going, oh yeah, I was there with him and he had a girl bouncing her boobs on his lap and he knew nothing about investment. They were getting ahead of it. They were distancing themselves from players who have, just like people are going to distance themselves from Diddy and, never parties.
They've already been doing that.
I was only there for the cheese dip,
man. The rats are jumping off the ship quick.
Oh yeah, because it's crazy.
We didn't talk about, like I said, I don't know if we got all the time. It's like the life extension. The life extension, his company where he. Oh,
let me just finish with this, and then definitely please do that. No, we got time. We could stay on more. So anyway, they're intellectual figures, hyper intellectual guys. They cry at all the right time and tell these stories, and they're kind of fascinating to watch. Except they're kind of full of shit. And they're part of something called the intellectual dark web. Now it sounds pretty sinister and unflattering. Mm-hmm. No. Eric Weinstein named them that, and they basically oppose left-wing identity politics, political correctness, but that's what they call themselves, the intellectual dark web. Crazy, the naming devices. There's also this young guy named Jesse Marcel. Now, I don't have anything against Jesse Marcel. Good for him. He's got a very popular podcast. But I noticed something, because I noticed these things. And Craig, you know I notice these things. It's just the way my brain works. This kid's nowhere, and then suddenly he's got 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. Okay, how the hell did this happen? Then I noticed when David Grush, Ryan Graves, and David Fravor were sitting there with the Lou Elizondos and the Jeremy Corbells and all these BS shills out there distorting the narrative, he was one of only 14 guests sitting in the front row, this Jesse Marcel. This was because Peter Thiel. So then I start looking people up. Who the hell are these guys? Oh, crap. I want to know. Here's Jesse Marcel. Oh, Peter Thiel Fellowship Institute. Oh, of course. Right. Just like on the other side, because we have to give equal time. The Justin Trudeau's and the Gavin Newsom's went through the WEF Leadership Institute. They're placing their people, because why the hell wouldn't you? So then I start looking into the Weinstein brothers. Brett worked at Thiel's hedge fund, Clarium Capital. Eric was the managing director for a decade of Thiel Capital. So it becomes right there. Here, let me just finish up real quick.
Craig, go for it. Yeah, no.
Because you know what? This ties in, I think. And Frank Jacobs talks about this a lot. And also watch Frank Jacobs, who grew up in Germany, who is a German citizen, talk about fascism and the roots and origins of fascism and how it's kind of been distorted. I think what people, Craig, are talking about is they're talking about demigods and they're talking about populism. And the science populism thing, right? This, who's the guy with 3 names? Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
This is science populism. The Weinsteins, science populism. If climate change if climate change being real furthers the political agenda, then these money guys send them out in droves to talk about it. If it doesn't serve their agenda, that is science populism, guys, and that is not how science should be done. Remember, I was talking about Stanford, these Research One universities, their money dries up if they do research that is counter narrative to the established narrative. It's all about gatekeeping. And people have had their careers destroyed. So WeChat was the China thing, Craig, and they all want digital tokens, digital currency emanating from the banks. I think all of this, people getting hijacked, systems going down, CrowdStrike, they're going to come to us and say, we simply can't stop the hackers. We got to go digital, guys. We got to go digital. Your money's not safe. We have to track it.
And it's going to be, you'll realize that, like, if you tie in, you'll see that they were also behind this thing, because they were most likely probably funded some of these hacker groups.
Yeah.
For that purpose.
Yeah.
You know, and like you were saying, it's like with the populism thing. That's part of the scary is anytime they say, well, the consensus.
Yeah.
That's not how science works. The science is it's a scientific thing, like anything, where you take the law of gravity. It's something that can be verified, redone, replicated over these things. So when you have stuff like, we'll just throw these things out here for the shock value. When you have like climate change, there's nothing that can be determined what is actually, is it the sun putting out more energy? Is it the SUVs driving around? There's nothing that they can actually, like I said, you go through these things, they can't pinpoint exactly what it is. So the whole thing, well, there's a consensus of what? It's not something that can be scientifically, measured and stuff. Like, they can't go through and recreate it, because if that's the case, if I pumped a whole bunch of CO2 in this room, the temperature should start, like I said, and these are the ones where, like I said, that's not what the show's about, but that's where these guys, they get into these things, and that's where the populism thing is really, you got to step back. It's like, take a breath. Yeah. Because that's not how these things work, but so
right, there's a thing called the scientific method. It's been around for a while. That's exactly what it is. A little factoid: cows producing methane do way much more damage to the climate than car emissions by like a long shot. There's a great book called Freakonomics and Super Freakonomics. Two economists out of University of Chicago wrote them. Fascinating about the crap that we are fed. But anyway, life extension.
Yeah, so we go. That was just, it was 2006. He donated $3.5 million to into anti-aging research, and through the Methuselah, mouse prize. And this is one where if you can go over to the thing and you can these guys it was about anti-aging, is rejuvenation. So these are ones. So this is where you can kind of see in a way, this is like your typical, whether you want Alien, where you have the multi-billionaire benefactor, that wants to live. And so so you can see some of these guys are like, you can, that it's self-serving by getting into these things, but this is kind of goes along with the biotech. It's like you could see that he's really getting involved in these things. And that's one of those approaches, because he went through like the venture company. I think he had donated close to $7 million to this foundation. So he's putting it through here. And then that Alcor, that's one that it's cryonics. So so this is the one where he's, so freezing, like freeze by, be able to research. So here's the one, I want to live forever. It's like, Musk, these guys are all into that. The other one, the sea steeding one, was the autonomous ocean communities. And especially if like you're doing these things, AI is a critical piece for these things, because then as scary as it is, you can see some of these stuff. The benefit of AI is it doesn't sleep. It doesn't need rest. It doesn't need breaks. So it can manage the things to where, you and me, we get tired, we make a mistake. Well, if you can perfect the AI, it doesn't make these mistakes. It can keep the life support rolling. It can get, so you can see that just with anything, there's that duality where there's the downside, but there's also the plus side, because you can see it's just like the nanotech can go in and fix you, but it also can be hacked. So it's one of those things. So there's this thing. So what, so you look at it, like the people that don't want the implants, like that can possibly, like Neuralink that Musk is working on. These guys are working on this stuff. Where is that defining line where you're like, it's too scary, and outweighs what's good? And that's where Peter Thiel, like I said, you could say, oh, this is, he's getting in that stuff. Well, this is pretty cool. It's like, if you look into that Sea Steeding Institute, it's like, if this is one of those things, just they could actually have, I'm trying to think, what was that, Sequest? Was that the one with us? Was that the one? It was a TV show where they had the ship that floated, went around the ocean. It was like,
oh yeah,
it was kind of, it was like an underwater Star Trek type thing. So this is the type of thing that some of these guys like Peter Thiel are throwing money at. It's kind of just the thing. It's kind of like diversifying, but it's like, I don't know. It's some of the stuff. It's like, it's pretty impressive if you go in and you dig into some of the companies, and they're into some pretty interesting stuff.
They are. There was a commercial going around, and I think they said they were 10 years out. But there was a commercial, and of course it was AI generated, but basically it was head transplants. And it's all done by these robotic. Did you see that? Your body wears out and they take your head and put it on another body.
Create another body. It was. I've got it wasn't. I don't think it was Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. That was
something more recent. Right?
It was more. The actor was from Jaws.
Oh, Roy Scheider.
I think it's Roy Schneider. I think he was the captain.
Sequest DSV.
Yeah, that's what it is. Sequest DSV.
Yep. There you go.
Yep. That was the one. It's kind of, but that could have been a remake from that one, the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. That's
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's 19. So yeah, if that was in the 1960s, there's a really good chance that was probably the inspiration for Sequest DSV.
Oh yeah, I think so. So Well, folks, I hope we educated you a little, and thanks as always for participating. Give us your insights and just be aware. That's why I listed off the names of all those companies. Just be
Mhm.
aware of what is going on. When I first got my Google phone 6 years ago, it had this cool feature where if music is playing, it will tell you, it'll come up on my screen what the song is.
Yeah,
Basically, I'm giving the phone permission to listen to everything, every
everything.
second, every moment. Um,
It's that
yeah,
duality.
yeah,
What's cool at the same time, it has that nefarious side. And it's like,
yeah,
I mean, how cool is it? It's just like you're always like, what is that song? It's like, oh, it's awesome.
yeah. And I keep it, I keep it turned on because we're out there anyway, and they know what I'm talking about, and so whatever.
Put on your tinfoil hat. That's why we get a Faraday cage over our phones.
Yeah. Thank you for a nice episode. Yeah, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea was great. I'm watching Wild Wild West. I absolutely love that freaking show. That was so
Yep.
cool. And I love to see the actors who were established later in life that were guest stars on the old shows from the 60s and 70s. That's where I'm at now. I'm just a huge sucker for that. I don't know if anybody else is going to be tonight on Max. The latest incarnation of Salem's Lot debuts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the
Nice.
guy who wrote The Nun and who wrote It, Darren somebody, I believe. And it's kind of getting hammered, and I don't even care. Like Bill Pullman's son is in it, Lewis Pullman. Tanya and I are going to watch it tomorrow night or Saturday night, and we are going to thoroughly enjoy it.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes you just have to sit there. It's like, people that they get, if they get too caught up on the stuff, just sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like it's like you watch a show. It's like, yeah, some of the things, the physics don't work out. Who cares? Enjoy the show.
Yeah.
It's just,
gonna
it's
be
supposed to be an escape from life.
Yeah.
Not a reason to, critique. It's like, just enjoy it. It's like, I get it. Last season they had yellow, they're blonde. Now they're brunette. The continuity's not there. Enjoy it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Don't look too deeply. Only writers at my level aren't allowed to have plot gaps, but when I go next level, nobody will care. It's the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing. But yeah.
There's no plot gaps and devils in the chair. So just remember that, people. There's no plot gaps in that.
I know someone was looking for our guest from last week, Jessica Knuckles. I'm going to have another writer on next week. If anybody is familiar with Caleb Carr's Alienness series, it was a really good 2-season TV show on TNT. I'm going to have a guy on, Mike Cobb. This guy writes historical fiction on the level of Caleb Carr's. Then Craig, you and I are
we're skipping.
No. You're going to be right.
Yeah, we're skipping. Yeah, no, I was just saying we're skipping that because I'm going to be out of town, and I'm not sure if I'm going to have a good enough signal to warrant coming on. So it's going to be the following week is when we're going to do January 6th.
Right, which is October 24th. October 17th, Wallace Wagner's coming back for the third time. Talk about
everybody watch that. That's really good.
Yeah.
But then we'll be doing back to back, and then we're going to do the Halloween special.
Urban Legends. So guys,
Urban
if
Legends.
there are urban legends you want us to talk about, I'll mention it on the show next week. We'll mention it on the
Put those in the chat.
Show.
Urban Legends. Anybody that you guys have any that you think are cool that you've been hearing about? It's like, we'd love some of the ones to talk about.
And then Bill and Jackie Kasulis are coming for the second time to talk about their work with positive trauma and the Mothman tragedy, the bridge in Point Pleasant, and that whole phenomena. So they're always terrific. And then Craig, I don't want to tell them yet. We have the ultimate sinister, ultimate mystery for our 50th show, where we're also going to debut our new intro and outro. I'm gonna make them wait 2 weeks before we tell them what it is, but
yes,
it is pretty sinister and pretty mysterious.
Yes,
it's pretty nuts. So anyway, always a pleasure to be with my colleague. And thank you all. We're gaining some traction now on YouTube, which I think is ultimately good thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Like I said, keep doing that. Keep sharing it, everybody. And just remember,
thank you.
Yep, don't be sinister.
Our subscriptions have gone up.
And don't be sinister. Stay mysterious.
Stay mysterious. See you all next week. And Craig, I'll see you in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I'll try to stumble through.
Yeah, it'll be about 3 weeks.
And always for your contributions.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, and I'll try to remember here, but said, like I'll try to remember to share the show. So that's what I said.
Yeah.
I apologize. They're looking for that one on the channel, and I'm like, I forgot to share it. So it's my fault.
I see it on there. Well, I see
Not
it
on the Three Beard. No, the other
Oh.
one, Jessica's show. They were looking for that on the channel, and I'm like, I
Oh,
forgot to share it. So that was my fault.
yeah, you can go to the the YouTube channel and see that, or go to the Facebook page or the Internet on Rails Facebook page. It's all there. Very articulate, super talented, and I'm going to be involved with her second book. She asked me, which is really cool. I did some developmental work on her first book, and she invited me back, so that's cool. All right, guys, we will see you soon. Peace.
Right.
Stay safe out there. Things are a little nutty. Bye.